Okay, is this thing on? Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? If you can, type in the chat. I'll look here. Hello, mic check. Okay, alright, I think we are good to go. Hi, everybody. My name is Chad Albritton, and I am so excited to have you here tonight as we launch our campaign for a brighter future for Casselberry. Tonight we're going to be sharing everything from, where I come from and why I'm running for City Commission here in Casselberry, to also discussing my ideas, my plans for the future. Now, we are kind of meeting in a little bit different of a format than normal. I would have loved to have a giant party in our backyard. I would have loved to have bands come over and barbecue the heck out of it because I do love that. But unfortunately, with the coronavirus situation the way it is in Florida, it's just not possible. And so I figured this could be a great, safe way to just get together, chat and talk and meet and really kind of discuss how we move our city forward. So thanks again for joining me. Please join us in the chat as well. Introduce yourself. And if you have any questions, throw them in there as well, and we'll try to get to them. But I'm really excited tonight to really jump in. And we're going to be going over not just things about Casselberry, but how you can get involved. We as a nation are in a really pivotal moment of change. With the current coronavirus situation, according to the Yelp industry study that came out today, 40% of small businesses on their platforms have closed their doors in the past month. I think that's my cat going on there. He's a 14-year-old guy. He's super cranky, and you may hear him meow throughout the night, so I apologize there, but we do this live. But going back to the situation that faces us, we already live in a data-driven economy today, and we already see big monopolistic practices squash small businesses here locally in Casselberry and across our state. And I believe that if we want to ignite our local economy and really kind of create a better, more inclusive society and community for all who live here, we got to do that together. So how do you play kind of a pivotal role in helping this campaign? Well, I cannot stress enough that we're a small dollar funded campaign. This is grassroots level. I'm not a career politician. I'm just a Casselberry resident who wants to make a difference. And truthfully, if we want everyday people in leadership, it's going to take all of us together. So I sincerely hope you stick with us through this night and really get involved with the campaign moving forward. We're going to be doing great phone banks to reach voters and more. So stay tuned. We'll jump into that very shortly. But before we kind of really get started on the policy side, let me tell you a little bit about who I am. I am actually a lifelong Casselberry resident. I don't know how many there are out there, but my grandfather and grandmother moved here in the 60s, and they bought this house, as kind of their first real family home that they were going to stay in, and they did. They raised my mother here. She grew up in the 70s and 80s attending Casselberry Elementary. Ooh, funny story, we actually had the same elementary PE coach. I'll tell you about it sometime, ask me. But I was able to grow up here on these streets as well. So I'm kind of a third generation Casselberryan in a way. And, growing up on these streets, playing soccer and football in the park rec leagues at Secret Lake Park, getting my first job at Cimarron Skateway at 14 and working there for, it must have been 8 years. Growing up working class here in Casselberry, I know what it's like to struggle to get by. I know where our city does well, but I see and hear and truthfully know where we can improve moving forward. I was really raised in a culture of service first My great-grandfather actually started off as a small-time newspaper operator in Little Rock, and eventually ended up working for the AFL, the American Federation of Labor, to really help with workers' rights at the time, and ended up, before the merger, going on to be a diplomat in the U.S. government and traveling all over the world. And my grandmother got to grow up in that kind of culture and learn from experiencing so much. But she decided that she'd kind of marry a small town, guy from Florida, my grandfather, who grew up in the mines and didn't have a dollar to his name. And kind of worlds collided. You had this more liberal, I guess, side meet this more conservative side. And for me, something truly magical came about, which was my family. A family that taught me first and foremost that inclusivity and diversity, draws strength. That when we reach across the table and really talk to people about tough issues and explain where we're coming from, that we're capable of squashing conflict and rising above it to create something amazing. And the service level stuff really doesn't stop there. My grandmother, when she had to go to work to start helping support our family after my grandfather passed away of cancer, she went and became the CEO, essentially the building leader of Magnolia Towers, which is a high-rise in Orlando that's dedicated to subsidized housing for the elderly. And so I grew up there really volunteering and having this extended family of grandparents kind of always washing me over with kisses. And honestly, I learned so much just growing up there and listening to their perspectives and their stories. And it really grew a strong fundamental root in me to understand how important just listening and understanding and empathy really is. We face so much conflict right now in our community and in our society. How do we move forward? Well, we do that by starting the conversation, by discussing our ideas, and by giving the time of day to opinions that differ from our own. It's something my mother taught me as a single mom, kind of growing up here in Casselberry, as I watched her sacrifice everything to let me be the first in my family to go and graduate from college, to be a homeowner in my 20s, being able to buy my grandmother's home as she retired to Georgia. Growing up here in Casselberry and in the situation I did, it gave me so much. So much that I can be grateful for, that I'm ready to give back to this community and bring the skills and experience I've learned, kind of in my work and in my education back to the city to help improve life for all. Because while our city is, growing and it is beautiful, we have some great parks, we have some great trails, we really have so much potential and creativity in this community. The truth of the matter is, the hard truth of the matter is, half of our people, half of our residents are struggling to keep their lights on, to put high quality food on the table, to afford childcare, or to keep their car running to be able to get to work. And seeing that, especially growing up on that side of things, I consider it a failure. It's not a personal failure. I have wonderful, great, hardworking, intelligent friends who grew up here in Casselberry who are simply struggling to get by. And I believe there's a lot that the city can do to improve their quality of life. And honestly, with the water rates we pay and some of the fees and fines we have to pay here in Casselberry, it's about time we get our value back for our tax dollar. So we're going to be jumping into all that very soon. Thank you so much for sticking with me so far. If you haven't already, this is a small dollar funded grassroots campaign, and we cannot do this without you. If you can tonight, please chip in $5, $10, $15, $20 to the campaign. It goes a huge way towards a win and helps us print all the necessary material we need to reach people. We can't knock doors right now in coronavirus, so things are shifting, and unfortunately that means it's going to be a little more expensive to campaign. But with your help, we can definitely do so. So please consider donating. We also will put a link in the chat right now to the donation page and also to our pre-order page for our shirts and our tote bags. So if you're interested in hitting up that swag, which it's some epic swag, union printed, cotton, amazing, go ahead and click that link, get your info in there, and we'll be able to get that shirt to you. Next up, kind of after all of this, which we will get more into on my family side and where I come from in the future. For now, I really want to introduce you to an amazing performer and incredibly intelligent guy who I respect a lot, Keith Kong, mentalist. He's going to perform a little card trick for us real quick and kick things off.
When we look at the news, social media, or even our streets, it's clear that this country is at a turning point. And while that's true, there's so many issues that our local leaders have to face. There's affordable housing, divisive politics, minimum wage, and so many others. But because of special interests and name recognition, some of the candidates hold all the cards for a long time. And when they hold the cards for too long, sometimes the issues just get lost in the shuffle. That's why it's time for a change. We need someone that actually wants to solve the problems that everyday people face. Someone who understands what it's like to struggle, and someone who has the skills necessary to innovate our local leadership. Now, historically, the establishment will try to bury those candidates, but that's where you come in. With your help, we can tackle the issues one at a time. We can ignite our economy with better transportation, and slowly but surely, we can straighten things out. In Casselberry, there's only one candidate for City Commission that's willing to tackle the issues head on. And that candidate is Chad Albritton. Please donate tonight, sign up to volunteer, and consider placing your vote for Chad this August.
All right, thank you so much, Keith. Keith Kong is not just a magician, but an incredible mentalist. He blows my mind every time I've seen him so far, and he does have a great show coming up, digital online. So it's in a few weeks, and if you are interested in truly having your mind blown for your family, tickets are very cheap, and you can check out his Facebook page. He really does have quite the experience in corporate events too, working for companies like Coca-Cola, BMW, way across the board, everything. So he's a wonderful professional guy who has truly some great talent. Thank you again, Keith, so much for performing tonight. Really appreciate the trick. And 1 second here while I just grab a sip of coffee. Next, I want to really pivot to what might some consider a weakness. The fact that I don't have decades of political experience. I'm just a working class guy here in Casselberry who was lucky enough to buy his grandmother's home and, now go to start a family here. But let me tell you, despite not having that, why I am the perfect fit for a future leadership here in Casselberry. It starts off with my education. I was very lucky to have some phenomenal teachers at Casselberry Elementary that really inspired me to push myself in middle school and high school. And I ended up going into the magnet program and ended up at Crooms Academy of Information Technology in Sanford, where I learned coding, networking, digital design, everything across the board. If it had to do with computers, you learned it. It was one of the best learning experiences and opportunities I've had in my life, and it really sort of changed how I viewed education and learning. I was able to go to Stetson, take out the loans to do so, which I'll probably be paying for the rest of my life. But I got to go and start off in the business school. I did 2 years of business and really learned the fundamentals of finance, accounting, marketing, and more. And, once I felt I learned all I was kind of really excited to learn in business, I shifted focus over to communication studies and political science. And I ended up graduating with a bachelor's in communication studies and a double minor in business and political science. It really gave me such a full perspective, view of how our world works and where we can improve our society moving forward. And it just gave me all of these great ideas about how local government itself, it's this shared resource that we all have together. It's not just people sitting behind the desk in City Hall. Our city is 33,000 people over 7 square miles. It's a community of parents and workers and children and so many different cultures coming together to create something truly special. Coming from the background where I do in communication studies, really looking at things on a reason of why we communicate and how we do and how organizations can really dysfunction when there's not that transparent and open communication, it really kind of gives me a perspective of here's where I want to move forward. After college, I went into the workforce, which, well, I guess I should say I never got out of, because I literally have held a job since 14 until recent health issues kind of shifted me to work for myself at home. But worked at Red Lobster, worked at a few pizza places, really grew up learning a lot and in that kind of service lifestyle. But after college, I was really lucky to get an incredible job down at a local education technology startup here in Orlando. I started off small in customer service and worked my way up all the way to the top of marketing as communication manager. And during that time, I learned everything from UI design to how computer systems can really make our life easier. And we design things for some of the most complicated exams, CPA exams, tax exams. So I really learned so much there of how you can take complex subjects and make them approachable and simple, so that way, even if you have a few minutes of your day, you can stay up to date what's happening. I think those skills that I learned in the workforce, not just in the service side, but in the corporate side and the business side, and then my education spanning from business to communications and more, really gives me the knowledge and experience we need for the future data-driven economy we're all going to find ourselves in. Now, I'm a firm believer that the path forward for us to fix things like wealth inequality, for us to be able to afford things like retirement or taking vacations, some simple things here, it starts by really creating local economies. For too long, our community, even here in Casselberry, has been taken advantage of by big companies who have taken deals and signed deals with our city over time for 10, 20, even more years, to have monopolies. Take our internet, for example. How many times has your internet gone out recently in Casselberry? Mine probably 5 times this past week. Why do I have the company I have in Casselberry? Well, because there's no other option. That company owns the lines. And so these kind of anti-competitive practices have made it really hard for small businesses to compete, if not impossible in some situations like cable to compete. So I believe that it's by developing strong local economies, by helping you start a small business if you'd like to, and reach people within our community. There's small things like transportation, where we could make it easier to get around town, so that way people want to visit more local restaurants. That invites more business in. Truly, at the end of the day, there's a lot we can do. But by igniting our economy through small changes, through sustainable development that conserves our resources and really develops for the long term and for everyone within the community, not just a select few, And by bringing in everyday residents who have long been shut out of the process, we can rise above this moment we face ourselves in today. And I think we can truly accomplish something great moving forward. But how do we do that? Truthfully, we need to change the status quo of governing in Casselberry. We need to encourage competition. We need to promote growth. And at the end of the day, we need to save our residents hard-earned money. Our city budget's going up to $75 million. This past March, we just voted to increase it by $24 million. It's part of a big parks expansion project, which we'll get into in the future and a little bit later tonight. But there's a lot of things in that plan where, we want to renovate 6 parks, but each park has its own consultant. And each consultant doesn't necessarily have to compete with each other on price. And so here's our city, about to spend a lot of money on something we need, because I'm a firm believer in strong parks and great infrastructure in a city. But here we are competing against ourselves on price. And that's just going to lead to more of our money in a way being wasted. I think there's a lot we can do within our city where we don't necessarily have to bring in outside firms for these projects to keep our local dollars local and within our community. I have a lot of ideas there too, which we'll go over a little tonight. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to, what are my goals for Casselberry? It's about making life easier to live here, and it's about making it easier to do business here in Casselberry. Things like lessening burdens on our working class residents by readdressing ordinances, expanding mixed use property, creating walkable city local economies where you don't need a car necessarily to go about your day, making it so workers, who currently are struggling to get to work are able to get there when their car breaks down so they don't lose their job and possibly the roof over their head. They're literally, I believe so many policies here in Casselberry that are making it hard to live that with some small changes, we can make life radically better here in Casselberry. But let's dive into one item first, and that is better meeting times. Tell me, if you work outside the city, which most do, unfortunately, we do have some good employers here in Casselberry, but we need more. If you're spending 30 minutes, an hour commute to get to your job, how are you going to make a 5 o'clock meeting to know what the city's addressing or to voice your opinion? It's absurd to me, truth be told. As a working class resident, as someone who worked in Orlando, I tried for months and months and months to drive and get to our city commission meeting on time. I never was able to do that. To me, I don't understand how you expect a city to grow and prosper if the majority of residents can't even attend the meeting. And, it gets a little worse than that. Even to find out what's happening in a meeting right now, you can't download the agenda packets on the website. You have to reach out to our wonderful city clerk and get that information. I think there's ways that we can easily make that information more transparent. But things like video releases of meetings would be great. Better meeting times, maybe 7 o'clock instead of 5 o'clock so workers can attend. And maybe even better meeting structure could increase transparency, because at the moment, if you even wanted to voice your concern on something before it was voted on, you really have to be there a week before. So you have to go continuously to meetings to stay up. And let's be honest, working class parents and the majority of Casselberry residents, they just don't have the time to be able to do so. But that doesn't mean their voice shouldn't be heard, and that doesn't mean their opinion shouldn't be respected. I think there's a lot we can do as far as customer surveys and feedback to elicit conversation and really understand what's happening within our community and how we can make things better. Addressing things like rising water rates are an issue there as well, especially since our city, controls the water of not only our city, but the surrounding area. We need to make sure that we're being fair and just to all of our residents and our business owners in the area. And that really goes into kind of safeguarding our natural resources, which is something I'm a huge fan of. I grew up on a lake here in Casselberry, and I was very, very lucky to do so. But we weren't really rich enough to afford a boat or jet ski. However, my neighbors, and one in particular, phenomenal guy, kind of like a stepdad to me, really got me started at a young age skiing and getting out on the lake and swimming and just getting involved. And for me, I fell in love. It's something that still today, I can't walk away from that lake when there's a beautiful sunset. I'll get bit up as much as I need to by mosquitoes, no problem. But, you know, ensuring that our I think we have 27 lakes here in Casselberry are clean, are not choked out by hydrilla and weed that, I mean, let me tell you, sometimes when I go canoeing, you can't fish in anywhere of the lake because all you'll do is pull in weeds. We need to make sure that our storm drains are filtered properly and make sure that our water is really filtered properly and make sure those resources are dedicated to doing that. Because let's be honest, what's the point of living in Casselberry if Casselberry itself isn't a beautiful place to live? There's also things we should do and really have conversations about, not just in terms of saving the environment, but saving us money. Things like solarizing our government buildings, so we're not paying outrageous rates to bigger utility companies, Duke, but who are saving our money locally and also promoting, you know, a possible better way of promoting energy long term. What if we did things like burying our power lines so they were safer and more efficient? Like I said, there's a lot of things that I feel we can do here in Casselberry to make life wonderful. One in particular, and actually let me take you back to a story kind of before this coronavirus situation got out of hand. I was able to go to a local community garden here in Casselberry. And this is something I've learned that residents have been pushing for a very long time. And the city's kind of nudged a little bit in that direction, but hasn't done anything truly concrete to make it so. But let me tell you what these two guys did with the help of their community. And Summerlock Garden, the community that I'm talking about, it's, I think, a 55 and up community. You know, they themselves, the majority of residents are struggling because they live off of Social Security and others. And, you know, they struggle to even get food to the table. Well, they created a community garden there that is phenomenal. Raymond Tusk and his friend, blanking on names, I'm sorry right now, they created basically an area where up to 40 families can sustainably farm food for themselves for the entire year. And the cost, get this, $30. So for $30, you get soil, you get your plot of land, and you also get help from Raymond and his friends and the community. We're talking Master Garden Farmer Extension holders, certificate holders. We're talking multicultural exchanges as well. They talk about how you'll have people from China or from Thailand come out and grow vegetables, and people from Mexico or Guatemala come out and grow fruits and vegetables that, you know, they were never even introduced to. And so you have this great cultural exchange that takes place where the community can come out and grow together and thrive together. And truly, at the end of the day, looking at statistics, those who farm their own food, they have about a 50% higher nutritional diet as far as fruits and vegetables. So we're talking about improving quality of food, right? And let's be honest, you know, our bodies are computers or machines. You throw in inputs and outputs, and sometimes those inputs being our food, you know, it can create some brain fog. Here's my coffee, right? But giving, you know, especially low-income families the opportunity to have access to high-quality food and vegetables just alone, it could make a fundamental shift in our community and really, at the end of the day, make life better immediately for those residents here. But at the same time, for $30, let's get back to that, $30 for your plot, which is, what is $30 for a year? Like Netflix is, what, $15 a month? For $30, you can produce up to $900 worth of food. So here you are, not only learning to grow, not only engaging in a community and getting out in the sun and really kind of learning, but you're creating opportunity for your family, you're putting great food on the table. And let me tell you, the extra food that they grow, they already give out for free to the community. So it's just a great exchange. Our city has a lot of plats of land, and I think that this is something, if elected, I should be able to get in motion very quickly to make a big difference in the impact our residents' lives. But there's a lot more too. Let's talk about enabling economic exchange without the need for buying an expensive building. Let's talk about, there's a wonderful resident here we have in the community, Walt Bagley. He came to me with an idea that he's been spending to really improve our wheel park. And, we have in our parks budget an amazing wheel park planned. It includes not only what's going to be, in my opinion, a world-class skate park, but also an area for kids of all ages and bikers of all ages to come out and participate. But Walt here put together this amazing plan where we could have a pavilion on this park with parking and everything easily accessible that would allow us to do flea markets, that would allow us to do farmers markets, and allow a lot of our residents here in Casselberry to get out, start their businesses, and make their life better. So I just had to commend Walt personally on that idea and give him a shout out here on the stream, because it's creativity and ingenuity like that really moves our community forward. And this is an idea that I feel really makes a big impact. But let's also keep talking about the economy and shift to transportation. How much have you spent on your car these past couple years, from your monthly payment to your insurance to oil changes to flat tires with I-4 construction? I'm sure the costs are going to add up when you look at it. Truth is not just roadways are expensive, but literal just maintaining cars and needing them to kind of get about your day is such an expensive tax on our residents, especially working class residents who often are maintaining older vehicles. Sometimes that vehicle is a lifeline to you and your family, because if that vehicle breaks down, you're going to maybe have a $2,000, $3,000 emergency ambulance run because you don't have the transportation. You're going to pay outrageous rates to Uber and Lyft to get to work daily back and forth, which can take up to 20, 30% of your income depending on surge rates. What if your car breaks down and you just can't get to work, but your boss just has a no tolerance policy and now you've lost your job? That is something that no family should ever have to face. And I think that especially on our inner city roads here in Casselberry, there is a maze to navigate, and there's no real good public transportation. So if you need to get around, if you say don't have a car, or maybe you're elderly, or maybe you were like me when I had my health issues and just couldn't walk far enough to get to a bus stop, we could have a shuttle program to take you around the city to hotspots. And this helps business owners within the community, because now you can, without your car, get to local restaurants or go down to that festival that's playing downtown. There's a lot of opportunity that gets unlocked with programs like this. And there's innovative technology, not just on the shuttle side, but on autonomous shuttles and more, where we could have conversations and create plans that really make life attractive here in Casselberry, not just for the residents here, which is the biggest plus to me, but what about to employers abroad who want good infrastructure, who want their employees to be able to get in and around town, or have fiber optic internet, which most of us don't have thanks to somebody up at the cable company. For me, it's just, there's so much great chances there. And I could ramble on over and over and over again, but I don't want to detract from kind of what we've discussed tonight. Over the next few weeks and the next month, as we go into the August election, I'll be sharing more about these plans and ideas. And truthfully, at the end of the day, I want to hear from you. We're going to post a link right now to schedule an appointment in the chat. If you're a Casselberry resident, or even a local resident from Winter Springs or Longwood, if you have experience with the city as a business owner or just from calling up city service, I want to hear from you. I want to learn where our city's doing incredibly well and where we need to improve to make life better. So please mark a little appointment down there. We'll have a phone call, an email, a chat, anything you prefer. Definitely want to get involved and hear from you. And again, we are, we've gotten a couple donations in, which is phenomenal, but we are a bit a ways from our goal. We're trying to raise $1,000 by tomorrow night, which is our reporting deadline. So if you can, please chip in, $10, $15, $20 to our campaign. We'll post the link in the chat right now. Your donation goes a huge way to helping us, get our message out and help people understand the possible future that awaits them here in Casselberry. I'm so far, I don't know. I want to say it's hard because I get emotional. I've never run for office, but it's super humbling to actually hear somebody say that, you have my vote. To earn that respect and trust is something that I never imagined. But I feel that my plans and my ideas, it's just that our community's ready for change. It's ready for something new, and it's ready for a direction that really helps bring us together and not divide us apart. And truthfully, I'm confident that with your help, we can deliver a working class victory for Casselberry residents. The election is August 3rd. Early voting is going to be starting very soon. And honestly, I recommend everyone right now, truthfully, register to vote by mail. Because with the situations going on, we don't know what it's going to be like to vote in person. We don't know what kind of places might be closed or what kind of locations we're going to be looking at to vote at. So please register to vote by mail online, and we'll get that going there. But August 18th is the election date. So if you do want to vote in person, which I'm usually that way, you can go. But please reach out to your friends. Let's get the conversation started, because truthfully, not enough people vote in an August election, which I have issues with, even having, right? Hosting things in March for a $24 million bond referendum, knowing that only 2,000 to 3,000 people may vote for that in a city of 33,000, to me, we could do things better. November elections, we should get it all out of the way. More people vote then. It keeps it easier. Instead of worrying about multiple election days throughout the year, we should simplify that. But at the moment, the way the city does it is August 18th, which is normally kind of the primary election. We will be having a city election, and I am running for Casselberry City Commission seat 4. I'm asking for your vote. If you can, I'm asking for your time and volunteering to help us phone bank and reach voters. And if you can afford it, I know times are tough, but if you can donate to the campaign, it would really make a huge difference. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I really do appreciate the opportunity to speak my platform and really kind of start the conversation. I hope you enjoyed what you heard tonight. We do have, I wanted to show you our business cards, but I don't think I have one. Oh, here we go. Look at this. We do have these printed. We're going to be doing some mailers. We're going to be doing some campaign flyers soon, which we'll have out. But our talented designer, Jake, has been doing amazing work, and he designed this wonderful card for us here, which we'll be getting out soon. We also have some great t-shirts and tote bags that are printing, which we'll put the link down now. We're looking to get those out to as many people as we can, and we're trying to keep costs as low as we can for you. But we did want to get them union printed to make sure that the workers who made the t-shirts received a fair wage, and that they were made right here in America and locally here in Florida. August 18th, once again, be sure to join us on Election Day. And if you can, please volunteer for the campaign. We'll be starting phone banks this upcoming week, and we'll be doing them consistently all the way through August 18th. So again, thank you so much for joining me. Let's go win this thing, and let's make some waves.